the coolest stations in the world.
Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio show for over 20 years.
Everyone's listening.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined once again by David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
Why, David James, Patrick Kinahan on a Friday, wrapping up another fabulous week. What a privilege. What an honor. What an absolutely, I can't even, I'm at a loss for words, but uplifting moment in my week.
Beautiful.
How are you?
We're good. Did you survive that debacle of a game earlier this week?
That was bad, but that's actually been, I kind of would say the nice thing is that stood out, right? There's some teams that have done what we're doing this year, and that's been like, that was Houston every night for a year.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, no, hey, that was bad. That was a bad 24. That was a bad 24 minutes, and I thought they were really good last night and played really well. So it feels more like what we've seen. I also think, though, you got to be a little understanding when you don't have to roll over. Okay, so that was bad, but I think you have a little understanding when, for multiple nights in a row, you're going on the floor and the guy you're facing is better than you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? What's this run been? Boston, Cleveland, Memphis, Houston? I think if you were to go position by position every night, you would take the other team's guy. There hasn't been one night. There hasn't been one position of the 20 possibilities there. 4 games, 5 positions. There hasn't been one possibility right now where you would take the Jazz player at that position over the other team's player.
Do you think that it was better against Houston based on the way they played or based on the miserable second half against Memphis? Because if it's just that you played better than you did against Memphis, that doesn't do a whole lot for me.
No, I thought they flew around last night. I thought they played really well. Houston really needs these, right? They're clinging to second. They have a big schedule coming up. They're completely healthy. Other than Steven Adams, probably would have made a difference. I thought they flew around. I thought they moved the ball. So there were a bunch of really good plays. Keontae got in the paint, didn't go too far, kicked it out to Sensabaugh for 3 and hit it. I thought that was a beautiful play. I thought there were a lot of times where the ball really moved. I thought Kyle, who's not a naturally very good defensive player in the NBA level yet, really did the best he could at times. Instead of seeing Kyle a lot of times gets just put on roller skates and it just kind of looks like he's sheepishly just getting bulldozed under the basket. And I thought that there was a play we ended up reviewing where he guessed, tried to guess the passing lane. There was another time where Şengün had it up top and he was the aggressor defensively and was owning the space. Those are all just little different things we haven't seen before.
One cool thing about you calling games and traveling with the team is you're at the arena early and you have a chance to talk to other NBA people. PK was just discussing Duke star Cooper Flagg, #1 pick in the draft, and saying best college prospect since Tim Duncan. And when you think of some of the other elite #1s, well, LeBron didn't play college ball, and Victor Wembanyama came from overseas, didn't play college ball. Is that true with Cooper Flagg? I'm sure people are telling you he's awesome, but how awesome are they talking?
I think he's awesome, but Anthony Davis, I think, is the answer to that question. Anthony Davis was College Player of the Year, SEC Defense Player of the Year, and they won the national title, right, as a freshman? And he was 6'11".
And you get 50 games out of him, you're happy.
Yeah, but we didn't know that at the time. So you're talking about best prospect since. I think Anthony Davis was a better prospect than Cooper Flagg. I feel like there's been one or two others, too.
Yeah, I didn't go down the list. It was just totally off the top of my head.
Yeah. No. Duncan was 4 years in college, and we knew it was just going to be incredible. Cooper Flagg seems to be great. I've really watched him very, very little. Obviously, he had a monster night last night. I've seen the social graphics. I've watched him very, very little. The most interesting conversation I had with anyone was with Gordon Hayward about him. And Gordon's comment was, he reminds me of my game when I was at my peak. He's just 2 inches taller. And I'm, oh my God, what I could have done with 2 inches more, kind of comment, which was really interesting to me. And I do think there's probably two things. One is Gordon's kind of openly saying the 18-year-old version of him was the 26-year-old version, right? That's what's most amazing about him is he's only 18.
Yeah.
And then I thought just the other comment was just like at 6'7", Gordon always felt like he could have been taller, and here he is. He's been comped a lot to Karolinko, but I think his offense is way better. The only thing I watched that jumped out to me about him, and this has been kind of the universal thing everyone's talked about, and we'll see if this lasts. What jumped out to me when I watched him was just the amount of picks he set, and the amount of move the ball, and the amount of just play the game as a part of the group. You're watching, and the only thing you want to watch is him, and he's doing all the little things to just make sure the game's played right for his teammates. That was pretty impressive.
Agreed. I agreed 100%. Yes. That stands out when you watch him.
Because I would like him to just go one-on-one and shoot because I want to watch him play.
Yeah.
Right.
He's one of these dudes who's an incredible individual talent and makes other people better. We throw that around, I think, a little loosely, but I think in his case, it literally is true.
Well, there's only like 3 players in the NBA who do that statistically.
Right.
A year.
That's what I'm saying. But we throw that around
I've done
a lot.
I've done a huge amount of research on this.
Me too.
And I really strongly believe that if you take a player, that teammates generally do not impact a player's efficiency and a player's performance, because very few of them actually impact it positively. Chris Paul's had a good run on this for a lot of years. Chris Paul's made teammates better. LeBron has made teammates better. But that's there aren't many. Kobe never showed any signs of being able to do it, actually.
I thought you were going to say Luka or the Joker there.
So there hasn't been enough player movement off of Denver in recent years for me to do that. But Bruce Brown is not nearly as good as he was in Denver, so that might be an answer. You have to get enough guys that leave a team, have one level of efficiency, and then go somewhere else and have it and drop. So Bruce Brown left. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope left. Both those are far less good than they were in Denver, so maybe.
Has Jordan Clarkson played his last game in a Jazz uniform?
I don't think so. He played the last game this year. He's got another year on his deal.
Right.
The only way he gets traded in the offseason is if there's just a really big, huge deal. Where the Jazz are bringing in a big name talent or, a big salary, and he gets moved in that salary. There have been, I think, something like 6 or 7 trade windows now in a row,
right,
where Jordan could have been moved, as a possibility, and he hasn't been moved. So I don't know why it would be different on the 8th.
I see your logic.
Yeah, he's not getting moved because someone wants Jordan Clarkson. And I don't see the Jazz making a trade that means that they need to aggregate $50 million of salaries. Yeah.
He's in expiring contract now. That would be one thing that has changed.
But that's to our benefit.
Yeah.
I don't know we want to give that up.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The expiring contract, if we were to be fortunate in this lottery, I'm manifesting only positive things. When we get Cooper Flagg.
It's going to happen.
In this lottery, and then we win the lottery the next year also.
Don't know about that.
And we get a 3rd pick in the lottery the next year.
Wow.
And we have the 1st and 3rd picks.
And you hit on all 3 of them.
And now we're starting the salary cap money in that of a bunch of guys that are on our roster that become free agents that allow for cap space and us to be one of the only teams to be able to play free agency after getting Cooper Flagg and somebody else in the next draft, one of the Boozer kids in the next draft, then that's probably more valuable than moving any of those players.
Yeah, and under that scenario, man, when my contract is up, I'm going to make sure I sign at least until 29-30 all those top players you just got us here. That's exciting.
29-30.
Yeah.
It's not that far away.
This country, this community needs you for much longer than that, PK.
Well,
he's taking them 5 at a time at this point.
I mean, really, you are a staple.
Yeah, but I think
you are like orange juice in a bagel.
I think God might need me on the other side, though. There's work to be done. There's work to be done.
Let's hope not.
Hey, my one thought for you, I wanted to make sure that I got this in. That 19-year-old shirt tosser, is she cannon John Elway or quick release
So
like Dan
impressive.
Marino? Yeah, what is it?
So impressive. Long, more of a. I think she might have a Jeff George long wind up for a great arm.
Okay. Well, under the circumstance, you're not being pressured by Lawrence Taylor and the like, so that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's 25 rows up every single time with a T-shirt. I mean, okay, so we got to tell a story here. This is kind of funny because it gives you a little insight in like what like being an NBA player. But so like Ron picked up on this early in the year. So the jazz dancers come out and they do their T-shirt toss, and what Ron picked up on was like, hey, check this woman out. She's got an incredible gun, but she's always throwing it to the same section. I think she might know someone there, and she's trying to get him a T-shirt every time. Ron, like, looking for conspiracy at 78 years old. So,
conspiracy theory on T-shirt tosses.
Well, I might be there.
so we've been watching, and she does throw to the same section every single time. And then we watched long enough that finally I said to Ron, I think each jazz dancer is assigned a section to make sure that every section's taken care of.
Yeah.
Because it's different people every time. And he's like, okay, well, she's still got a gun. Like, if you watch, there's underhand tosses and sidearm tosses and this and that. Like, they're getting 8 rows up. And all of a sudden, there's just one woman throwing right in front of Dan Roberts, throwing to the section behind the jazz bench. You've got 2 more chances to see this year. And her name's Layla.
You got me on my knees.
Layla.
Yeah, Eric Clapton music should be going during this segment. Like, the jazz.
Let's go, Chicho. Don't just sit in there. Come on.
Game Up should just be dedicating this whole segment to her. And she's just got a gun. So we've been watching this all year. Well, the Memphis, little did I know that, thank God, we had this conversation because there wasn't going to be a basketball game I was going to want to talk about. So at halftime, I left my seat in the Memphis game, and when the jazz dancers are on the top row of the upper bowl all across the arena to start the second half. That's whatever their game op routine is, and they have little signs that say noise and whatever. And they do it every night. Like, it's not a big deal. Well, so I walked back to my broadcast, and there she is. I mean, like, celebrity sighting. Like, oh, my gosh, this is the one. And so I stop her and say, excuse me, you're the one who throws the T-shirts into this section? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I have to introduce you to my partner, Ron Boone. We've been watching this all year, and you have a gun. So we introduce her, and Ron finds out, and we find out the story is that her dad was a basketball player. She didn't say where. We didn't really have time. We had like 12 seconds. And that she just played all sports growing up, and so her dad just made sure that she knew how to throw a ball right.
Yeah.
And so her name's Layla. She's 19. She's an elementary education
UVU?
student somewhere, I think UVU.
Yeah.
And she's from southern, from Orem area.
Yeah.
So, if you're listening, you can let her know that she got more pub today for her arm, and you can let her dad know that he got a bunch of pub for teaching her right. And yeah, she's awesome. So check it out. One of our final 2 home games, and maybe I'll throw the social media, like, I'll remember, and I'll put my camera on, and we'll have it up on Instagram or something. Because I mean, it's clearly the Layla segment of the show is the most important thing. I mean, it's almost the 2 most important stories around the Jazz right now, unquestionably, are Layla's throwing and Chris Jones dunking on Walker Kessler and Kyle Filipowski at practice.
Would you say Kelsey Plum-like?
Yeah. It's really good. Kelsey Plum, that was pretty awesome. That was a running start.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Layla at this point, now that there's some pub, I think I might have to go Tom Brady, though. And so I might need to make sure that I get T-shirts that are specifically rolled up and taped tight enough that I can really throw them.
Well, at this point, yeah.
And do you think that Layla got in trouble because after we talked to her that night, when it was T-shirt toss time, her last T-shirt, she tried to see if she could get to Ron and I, which would be quite the feat since we're in the top row of the lower bowl.
Be a lot of feet.
And she didn't throw it in her appropriate section.
Ooh. She got out of her section?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, the rebel.
What I would suggest, David, here is with only 2 home games left, Portland April 9th and Oklahoma City April 11th, that Oklahoma City game, maybe they won't play anybody because they'll have the 1 seed clinched
Bring
by
her
then.
on the air.
She should be the post-game interview. At that point, she's done with all the game ops responsibilities, whatever they have to do. Yeah, that should be the post game. We don't need to hear from a player after the lost 21 out of 22.
I don't think that there's any question, even without a PR campaign, that Layla's going to be all rookie dancer. But I think at 19, she's still trying to establish her career, and if she starts acting like she's bigger than the troops, then I think it's going to be a little bit of a problem inside the clubhouse. And so I think we have to be really careful about whether she might stunt her career with this newfound fame.
Yeah, but I mean, are these dancers, are they like the players, and they're just kind of find themselves, so every girl for herself?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you got to find, like Bryce Sensabaugh's finding a skill as a three-point shooter, and clearly Layla has found her skill that separates her from everyone else, which is a cannon of a right arm.
Right. Well, you got to run with it, or in this case, throw with it.
Right, exactly. I did not think we were going there today, but I appreciate PK. Can I tell you how much I appreciate the fact you were listening?
I thought you might.
He was in a car going somewhere. He says, I got something in the next segment. And then he brings this up the morning after the game. He says, it was ugly. David Locke and Ron Boone had nothing to say. It was all completely obvious. There was nothing to spell out. It was over. It was atrocious. And here's what they were talking about.
I don't even know where I was going. I can't remember.
Memphis scored on, let's just be clear what was going on during this. Memphis scored on 16 of 17 possessions and 11 straight to open the fourth quarter and outscored the Jazz like 94-32 at one point. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why we were talking about Layla.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was his point. Yeah, that was exactly why you were doing it. It was like there was
a few of these
nothing to say.
It is such a great insight into our business, though. Like, I mean, I study play-by-play. I can tell you that the NC State women's play-by-play announcer is terrific. I have listened to so much play-by-play in the last 2 weeks. Like every game that's on, I'm just sitting there on my SiriusXM account, listening for 10 minutes to see if I can learn from an announcer. I'm so into the craft. I'm obsessed with it. It's almost crazy. And so the items this year that have gotten the most conversation, Layla, when we discovered that the Toyota Club Skittle buck little giveaway that they give for free in the Toyota Club at halftime, it's in a little plastic cup, is actually a bag and a half worth of Skittles. And little kids are walking out with like 3 and 4 of these things that they eat in the second half of games. But it's 92 Skittles are in that little thing, and a regular bag of Skittles only has 60 Skittles. These are the things we've discovered this year. These are the things that have gotten way more conversation than anything I've done in all of the hours in which I've tried to work on being the best play-by-play announcer I possibly can be.
Well, if they get Cooper Flagg and make some kind of big game or even medium game hunting move this summer, you'll have a very different year next year. And
I don't think we'll have a very different year next year.
If they draft 5th and don't make a trade, you will not have a very different year next year.
Yeah, I don't think that it lines up to have a very different year for next year, and I'm not sure that actually you want to have a different year than next year, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Like once you're in this deep, you can't bail out of it.
Right, but if you get the number one pick, you got to take Cooper, and if some big player shakes loose, you can't not go after him.
Sure. But Kevin Durant and LeBron James, who are the greatest players of all time, were not very good as rookies. So I guess that's my point. Is I don't think
but those
Cooper Flagg's not moving your win meter next year. He's getting a year's worth of experience on his route to being fabulous.
Yeah, I got you.
And so
that's fair.
And I just think if you're going to go win 17 games in an NBA season, you actually. If you want to do this, it works. It's fairly undeniable that it works. But you have to commit, and you have to commit to 2 or 3 seasons of it.
DJ and PK, he's David Locke. He joins us every week, and we will talk to you again next week, David.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
All right.